It's an ongoing joke that somewhere there's an unwritten law for any game, really. But if your ship's name is Enterprise, you have to come with a crap ton of stuff. And here's another example of it. So we got a lot to look into. We'll get into it. This is the Enterprise-E expansion. And we'll take a look. Here's our Sovereign class dial. First time we're getting a look at a Sovereign class ship. Not the most maneuverable thing in the world, but it is really fast. Even has the 6 forward on there. So there you can see our Sovereign class. Looking at that chart, you can see how really fast the ship is, but very hard to maneuver at slower speeds. Lacking the 90-degree 1 or 2 turn, but has all the way up to a 6 forward. So nice to see something different in a unique dial, instead of the same old cookie cutter maneuvers for everything. Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but the named version has the entire name and serial number. It's actually the USS Enterprise NCC 1701E instead of just the Enterprise E. Not sure why they felt the need to put the entire thing on there, but just an oddball thing. Anyway, it is unique in Federation faction. We have 5 attack, 1 agility, 5 hull, 5 shield. Very respectable ship. We have 1 tech, 2 weapon, 2 crew upgrades. A little light on the crew upgrades for Federation ships, but we have some cards that'll actually give us some extra slots, so that'll make up for that. 32 points. We have evasive, target lock, scan, and battle station. Standard Federation package there. Our ability is you may fire a torpedo at an enemy ship without needing a target lock. If you do so, place an auxiliary power token beside your ship. Interesting ability, a bit wasted on a ship with a primary attack of 5. It does have a rear arc, so you could be using it there. Other than that, for basic torpedoes, it's almost a waste on this ship, I think. But definitely a respectable ship other than the ability. Kind of a letdown. There we have our generic Sovereign class. You lose 1 shield. You lose 1 weapon upgrade for 30 points. I honestly see the generic getting a lot more use than the named. The only time I see the named getting used is if you have that 2 extra points and you want the 1 extra shield, or perhaps need the 2 weapon slots for something. Like I said, the ability itself I just don't see getting used much. We have a new Jean-Luc Picard as our captain. When I first saw this card, I think it's great that we finally have something that can compete with the starter set Jean-Luc. He's only at captain skill 8, so you're sacrificing there. You got your 1 elite talent for 5 points. His first ability adds 1 slot to the upgrade bar of your ship. Can be a crew, tech, weapon, or elite talent. Very nice. And his second ability here, which is what just makes him interesting, is at the start of the game after setup you choose a faction. Whenever you attack a ship of that faction, you may roll 1 less attack die and add a critical to your roll. Each time you defend against that faction, you get to roll +1 defense dice. So it gives you an offensive boost and a defensive boost. Really like this. Not sure if I would sacrifice the 9 captain skill and the free action from the other captain, Picard, but definitely has its uses. One of the interesting things is I saw there was a Admiral in this pack, and I immediately thought, sweet, Admiral Picard. Wrong. Our next captain is Matthew Daugherty. Captain skill of 4. 3 points. As an action, you can disable 1 of your upgrades. Each time you defend this round, during the roll defense dice step of the combat page, you get to add an extra defense dice. So, not nearly as cool as Picard, requires a discard or a disable, but it works against anything, so has its uses. Matthew Daugherty here is our admiral for the pack. He gives you a +1 to your captain skill for 3, and he's also 3 points. and turns his ability into a fleet action. This I see being a lot more useful than him as a captain, but still not sure if I would take him over some of the other admirals we have. If you're already using Kirk on a different ship, then maybe you could use him. But other than that, just not feeling this guy. We have our generic Federation captain. For our elite talents in this one, first one we have is Fire at Will. Poor Will. We joke around here that we should house rule it, that if anybody uses this, the first thing you have to do is shoot at whatever ship Riker's on. But that's just because we're weird. 5 points for this one. During the combat phase, instead of making a normal attack, you may discard this card to make one attack with your primary weapon and one attack with your secondary weapon. Each of these are at -1 attack die and must be made against different enemy ships. Still an interesting ability. The possibility of shooting twice is always good. Combine this with a secondary weapon with a crazy high attack power, and the ship's ability that doesn't require a target lock to fire a torpedo. Can definitely see this as being probably the only use for the main named version of the ship. Definitely has uses on other ships as well, but all around a good card. Next we have Make It So. This is 5 points. When performing an action or attack that requires you to disable one of your upgrades, you can disable this card instead of disabling the upgrade. Another combo piece, has lots of uses, especially the Federation. There's lots of crew members and weapons that require disables. So I see this one popping up a lot. Definitely worth the 5 points in my opinion. Every faction has something that they do best, and the Federation is their crew. They get the most and the best crew options, so we'll take a look here. And of course this is based on Next Generation's movie appearance, so everybody from the crew is making an appearance in here. First off, we have Beverly Crusher. 3 points. If one of your other crew upgrades is supposed to be disabled for any reason, you may disable this card instead. Or if one of your other crew is supposed to be discarded for any reason, you can discard this card instead. So basically she's a sacrificial lamb to save one of your other upgrades so you can use it again later. Has her uses. Next up we have Data. He's also 3 points. During the Modify Attack Dice step of the combat phase, you can discard this card to force an enemy ship to reroll an entire attack roll. It has its uses. I think most of your good attacks are already going to be using rerolls to get that really nice attack. At the same time, you won't be able to use this because they've already rerolled. Not sure if I would ever take him over the original Data. The double evasive seems like just a better option. Next up we have Deanna Troi. 3 points. As an action, you can discard this card to target a ship at range 1 to 2. You disable the captain or one crew upgrade on the target ship. You gain a battle stations token, and if the target ship was cloaked, it flips it to its red side, so it has to spend an action if it wants to stay cloaked next turn. Definitely an interesting one. Nice to see her actually get represented in the game. Next up we have Geordi Laforge. He still looks weird without the visor. I know he didn't have it in the movie, which is what this is based on, but he's 4 points. He adds a tech upgrade to your upgrade bar. As an action, you can disable this card to target a ship at range 1 to 3. Target ship rolls 2 less defense dice this round to a minimum of 0 against all of your ship's attacks. If the target ship is cloaked, flip its cloak to the red side. Another anti-cloak thing. These would have been good months ago in the meta. The meta switched more towards anti-Borg now, but still definitely has its uses. The ability to uncloak things and make them waste an action is useful. Dropping anything down a couple defense dice is also useful. Last we have William T Riker. 5 points. He adds an extra crew upgrade to your bar. After you move, you can disable this card to perform an action of one of your crew, elite talents, or tech upgrades, or your captain's action as a free action. Definitely useful. There's a lot of A lot of uses for free actions. Can never go wrong with those. For our weapon upgrades, we have Photon Torpedoes. 6 points this time, but these are a little bit better than some. 5 dice attack, 2 to 3 range, requires target lock unless you're firing it from the named. If you fire it from the Sovereign class, you gain 1 attack dice, so you're actually getting a 6 attack. It's very respectable. You may fire this weapon from front or rear arc, also a nice ability. Loses the normal Photon Torpedo ability of turning Battle Station to a crit, which can forgive them for the ability that it has the possible 6 die attack and doesn't require target lock if you're firing it from the named. Other than that, not too sure I would use this over standard torpedoes. Next up we have Quantum Torpedoes. Same ones that we got on the Defiant. 6 points, 5 attack, range 2 to 3, requires a target lock. If a target ship is hit, you can add a hit to your total damage, and it can be fired from the front or rear arcs. So possibility is 6 damage on there. The best thing, like I said again, with the combo with the named version of the ship, you don't require the target lock. So if you still have one, you can fire these and use the target lock to reroll, which increases your chances of getting multiple hits. Last weapon upgrade, probably one of the better ones in the pack, is the Dorsal Phaser Array. This one's price cost varies. The attack value varies. Has a range of 1 to 2. The best thing about this is it can be, instead of firing your regular weapon, you can fire this. It uses your primary weapon value stat and can be fired in any direction. So basically it gives you the Enterprise-D's named ability on any ship you put it on and does a bit more damage in the process. Can only be purchased for Federation ships with a hull value of 4 or greater, and the SP cost is equal to the ship's primary weapon value plus 1. So if you were to put this on the Sovereign class, it would cost you 6 points. Definitely has its uses. I would love to get a couple extras of these cards. They pretty much make any Federation ship better. Can't be used on the smaller ships, but on the bigger ones, definitely an upgrade that's almost a must-have. Fills in those blind spots in your rear. Even on the ships that have a rear arc, these don't require a target lock, so you can continually shoot things as long as they're in range 1 to 2. Our tech upgrade for this one is Advanced Shields, 5 points. As an action, if you still have active shields, you can place an additional shield token by your ship. If you take damage this round, remove this shield token first. If you don't take damage this round, it's discarded at the end of the phase. No ship can be equipped with more than 1 advanced shield upgrade. Basically, it gives you 1 extra shield that regenerates every round at the cost of an action to put it on a ship. Has its uses, requires that you already have existing shields in place, so early game it's going to come into effect, especially if you're playing against stuff with smaller attack values that are only plinking you for 1 or 2 at a time. Combined with a engineer of some sort who can repair shields possibly to keep them up and running so that you can use it. Once your shields are down though, it becomes a wasted card. 5 points for the ability to take 1 extra hit. It's kind of iffy on. The fact that you can use it multiple times is okay, but the fact that it costs you an action hurts. Then again, something like this combined with Riker, you can do this as a free action each turn, so that also would come in useful in a combo like that. But on its own, not that great of a card. Has uses, but there's better out there. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this expansion comes with a ton of stuff. We have 5 shield tokens, plus an extra shield token to use with the advanced shields. Have our auxiliary and critical markers. We have a reminder token for Geordi. We have evasive, scan, and battle stations. For our fleet action token here and our admiral token, we have 2 disables. Target lock E1 this time for Enterprise-E. At this point I'm pretty sure they're doing that stuff on purpose. Mission for this one is the Briar Patch. It's very similar to ones we've seen before. This one takes place in the Briar Patch instead of the Badlands, but has a very similar idea. The ships can't move above a certain amount without taking damage, And then there's hazards strewn throughout the field that damage the ships as well. This one ends up being a 2-on-1. The Federation has to blow up both of the enemy ships and then exit the play area. And the enemy needs to blow up the Federation ship and have at least one ship exit. Haven't gotten a chance to play that one, but I did read through it. So, another interesting mission, and someday I will catch up on all of them. The ship itself's pretty cool. They did a decent job painting. Still could use a wash and such to bring out the extra details, but they are there, as with the most recent ships. You can see the Aztecing on the bottom of the saucer section there. The details present just needs to be brought out. It's a lot longer than I expected, but it fits the ship. That's what the ship was, so not nearly as wide as some of the others, like the Galaxy class, but it's much more sleek design. Can't say there's anything too terribly wrong with the model this time. No bad mold lines or anything. So maybe things are actually starting to improve. The painting's definitely a lot better. Still needs some work, but it's a step up from what we've been getting. There we have our Enterprise-E base, 90-degree front and 90-degree rear arcs. And our generic Sovereign class with the same. All in all, another good expansion for the Federation. I don't think they've actually had any bad ones. They've had some less desirable ones and some must-have ones, but this one kind of falls in the middle. There's a lot of nice things in here, but nothing you really can't live without. Things like fire at will are kind of useful. Extra quantum torpedoes everybody's always after. The dorsal phaser array is probably the biggest draw to the pack. The ship itself is pretty middle of the road. It's a good support vessel. I don't know if it would make a really good frontline assault vessel. I don't think you want to base your fleet around this as your main ship. The maneuver dial is extremely poor for it. It's a very fast ship in larger scenario games or big fleet battles where you're using a couple hundred points. Can definitely see the Sovereign classes as being a support vessel running here and there to back up the rest of the fleet. But as a main frontline assault, I think there are better options out there. Definitely not a bad ship, but there's other ones I would choose before this when building a fleet. As I said, your biggest draw to this pack's probably going to be the dorsal phaser array, and you're going to want multiples of those to run on pretty much every Federation ship you have, especially in the Borg heavy world. That 360-degree arc is going to come in handy to combat that. Anyway, that's it for this one, and we'll see you in the next video.